Cersei of the House Lannister, protector of the Seven Kingdoms.
Lannister, Targaryen, Baratheon, Stark, Tyrell. They're all just spokes on a wheel. This one's on top, then that one's on top, and on it spins, crushing those on the ground.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back for another Game of Thrones Season 8 prediction video. Today I want to talk about the inevitable battle for King's Landing, and I also want to talk about the possibility of another epic showdown on the Bay, a Battle of the Blackwater Part 2. We know that with this being the final season of Game of Thrones, they are going to produce some of the greatest battle scenes in the history of television. Now that the tension is going to be at an all-time high, we're going to see plenty of action in and around King's Landing. The capital of Westeros is on the verge of becoming a pile of rubble, and I'm going to tell you why. There will be a few spoilers in this video, so please proceed with caution. When Euron Greyjoy returns from Essos, he is going to have his ships parked right out in the Blackwater Bay. What do you think Daenerys will do when she realizes Cersei and Euron are strengthening their position in King's Landing? We all know Cersei is never going to surrender, and this will eventually leave Daenerys no choice but to strike King's Landing. Euron Greyjoy's fleet would be the first line of defense against an attack on the city, but those wooden ships don't stand a chance against dragons that are the size of 747 airplanes. We saw just how devastating these dragons could be against stationary targets back in Meereen. So unless Euron or Qyburn have some kind of an anti-dragon weapon, it will be no different when she attacks King's Landing. Cersei Lannister still has control over the Iron Throne, but it's only a matter of time before we see her downfall, or at least I hope so. I suppose Game of Thrones rarely ever gives us what we truly want, but I am confident Cersei's reign will come to an end next season. As we all know, Daenerys Targaryen is now in Westeros and she plans on removing Cersei from power. Daenerys says she was born to rule the Seven Kingdoms, and she believes she will. The only problem is Cersei does not intend on bending her knee. In order for Daenerys to take back the Seven Kingdoms for House Targaryen, she will need to take down Cersei Lannister by force, which I believe we will see near the end of the final season. Daenerys was ready to storm the city with her dragons in Season 7, but her advisors suggested otherwise. Right before Season 7 ended, Daenerys found out firsthand that the Army of the Dead was real, and she already paid a massive price by helping Jon Snow. Unfortunately, she lost one of her dragons, but this also proved that the Night King needed to be dealt with immediately. So Daenerys and Jon were willing to call a momentary truce with Cersei, as long as she agreed to help assist them in the Great War against the Night King. But Cersei couldn't even do that. Cersei lied right to their faces by saying she would help. Daenerys and Jon assume Cersei is sending all of her banners north because that's what she said in the Dragon Pit. But then she told Jaime she isn't sending a single soldier to aid them in their fight against the dead. As soon as Jon and Daenerys realize Cersei isn't sending them any men, this will only further motivate them to go down to King's Landing as soon as possible and pry the Iron Throne from her cold dead fingers. What makes this so interesting is the fact that Jon and Daenerys will have to use their forces against the Night King first, because he is currently the biggest threat to the entire realm. In order to stop the Night King, they will need every swinging dick on the battlefield fighting his Army of the Dead, and even that might not be enough. The reason why I say that is because by the time Daenerys is ready to take down Cersei, she might not have enough firepower to do this. While Jon and Daenerys are losing men in the north, Cersei will continue to get stronger in the south. Now I know Cersei doesn't have too many Lannister soldiers left, not after what Daenerys did to them on the Field of Fire. But she still has Euron Greyjoy and his Iron Fleet, and he's currently on his way to pick up the Golden Company, and they are 20,000 strong. I also believe Qyburn still knows where plenty of wildfire is stored, and even if there isn't any more caches under the city, Qyburn may be having more made. He was secretly having ballistas made, so I wouldn't doubt if he was stockpiling more wildfire for when the day comes that they will need it. Even though Daenerys currently still outnumbers Cersei, she may lose a large portion of her army during the Great War in the north. She could even lose more of her dragons. The Night King killed Viserion with one shot, and Rhaegal could fall just as easily. Drogon can be killed too, but he will most definitely live the longest, because he's the biggest and he has a rider. I actually think Daenerys and Jon will lose most of their men against the Night King, but as long as they still have the dragons, they could at least barbecue King's Landing, and there is some evidence of this already happening. Game of Thrones has already been filming their final season for 8 months. The war in the north is finished. They spent 55 nights filming all of those scenes. but now they have moved their attention to the south. I have seen enough photo and video evidence to know King's Landing comes under attack, and so far there has been no sign of the Army of the Dead. Now they might be hiding them very well, but as of right now it only appears to be Daenerys and Jon's battle for the capital. Let's take a look at some of the evidence that I'm referring to. I'm sure most of you have seen this first video clip by now. This video was filmed about 2 weeks ago, and what you are looking at is the Unsullied and Dothraki lining up right outside of King's Landing's set in Belfast. Not only has Daenerys made it to King's Landing, but a portion of her army is still intact. Daenerys and Jon should have encountered the Night King by now, but this is a good sign that he wasn't able to kill all of their men. At least not yet, that is. They have been filming at this King's Landing set for almost a month, and like I said earlier, there have been no signs of the Night King or his army in this location. So I would like to think the Night King has already been defeated by the time they reach King's Landing again, but this is of course just a guess. Now let's take a look at this new video clip that just came out a few days ago. This one was posted on Reddit, and as you can see there is a decent sized fire burning in the city. There is also a green screen placed right behind the fire, so they will most likely add some sort of effects to this scene. They could also change the color of this fire during post-production. Even though this appears to be a normal fire, they could always change the color to blue or green. Now, what I want to show you next is very interesting because I believe this is some good evidence that dragons may have attacked the capital. If you take a look at the photos on the screen, you can see that the King's Landing set has sustained some significant damage. They spent over 6 months building this set, and it now appears to have been caught on fire by someone or something. The reason why I think this was done by dragons is the simple fact that only the tops of the structures are burnt, which most likely means the fire came from above and not below. We have known that something like this could happen ever since Season 2, when Daenerys Targaryen goes into the House of the Undying. She sees the Great Hall and the Iron Throne, and as she is walking around, she notices the roof has been damaged by someone or something. I have always believed this would be the cause by the dragons because only the rooftops appear to be damaged. I think we all knew it was only a matter of time before Daenerys came to King's Landing and attempted to remove whoever is occupying the Iron Throne. We have also seen visions of this with Bran Stark. When Bran was traveling to the Three-Eyed Raven's cave, he stops at a weirwood tree beyond the wall, and he touches the tree. Then he sees several different events taking place. 2 of the visions he has relates to this. He has a vision of a dragon flying over the rooftops of King's Landing. Then he also sees the throne room with the ceiling burnt off, and snow falling all over the room and the Iron Throne. Since Bran and Daenerys saw the same vision, I have always thought that this was a glimpse at something to come in the future. And now we finally have some evidence of this possibly happening next season. We know Daenerys Targaryen's army was located right outside of the city gates, and now we know the city will burn. When you put 2 and 2 together, it's pretty easy to imagine what is going to happen in these scenes. Now, I haven't seen any evidence of Euron Greyjoy being involved in this battle as of yet, but if he happens to be in King's Landing when this battle takes place, then I can only assume his fleet will be at anchor in the Blackwater Bay. Since he is bringing Cersei the Golden Company, he might still be here at the end of the season. That's if Theon hasn't already managed to kill him somehow for taking his sister prisoner. There was a report that came out months ago that said Theon and Yara were filming scenes together inside of a studio in Belfast, but there wasn't any photo or video evidence to prove it. I would like to think Daenerys would enjoy getting some form of payback on Euron too. Not only did he smash a big portion of her fleet, but he also took several of her allies prisoner. Can you imagine if Daenerys sent all of her remaining men to the city? Then she takes both dragons and swoops out over the bay and torches Euron's entire iron fleet. She could light the whole bay on fire and it would look incredible. There is some other news I want to talk about before I end the video. Photos came out this week and they showed nearly the entire cast in the location where they filmed scenes in the Dragon Pit. I believe the producers did invite some of the cast to come out and celebrate, but they were definitely filming scenes at the Dragon Pit while they were here. Now, there's no way to confirm which characters were involved, but I think these scenes could have something to do with Cersei's downfall. I know they could always use it again for another parlay scene, but I just don't see them doing that again. Cersei already lied once about sending them help, and we already know the city does come under attack. I believe these scenes will take place after King's Landing is destroyed. The capital will burn, which will force them to hold this little meeting right outside of the city. After Cersei is killed and Dany has control of King's Landing, I think we might get some kind of a victory speech in the Dragon Pit, or some kind of speech that gives hope for the future. Daenerys could say something along the lines of King's Landing no longer being the capital of Westeros, and the Iron Throne no longer being the seat of power. Essentially, we could get another breaking the wheel type of speech. Jon Snow could also say something here too. Since this will take place at the end of the season, Jon might know about his true parentage by now. He should know that he is the true heir to the Seven Kingdoms. But maybe he gives a speech about not wanting to rule. He has never appeared to have the desire to want to rule Westeros, and I think he will do what Maester Aemon had done, which is basically refuse to take the position. Since Daenerys Targaryen has always wanted this, maybe he gives the claim to her, or he just tells her that he wants nothing to do with his claim. Or together, they could decide how they will make Westeros prosper again. There are just so many different ways this could play out, but I think the Dragon Pit will be used for a scene directly after King's Landing falls. But this is just a guess. Let me know what you think about these most recent spoilers. What could they be using the Dragon Pit for again? And do you think it was Dragonfire that burnt the tops of the city walls? Put all your comments down below. Anyways, I really appreciate all of you for stopping by to watch the video. I also want to thank everyone that supports my channel on Patreon. I cannot thank you all enough. I hope you have a great day. I will see you all again very soon. Bye.